Hello and welcome, Cairo Thought Leaders. We are on a live mastermind with the man himself, Dr. Patrick Gentempo. What a special episode! I'm going to go ahead and call it an episode because here lately we have actually changed the concept of the Ask Dr. Zaino show and revolved it around more of training, more of masterminding, which is why this is very pertinent for tonight's topic, which is the mastermind. And I want to thank all of you for opting in to be here and the dozens of people who are already online watching now. I want to introduce you to the page you're watching here at cairothoughtleaders.com/ask-dr-Zaino. Right below, you'll see a big orange button that says yes. And so if you click that, you'll actually be taken to a special page that Dr. Patrick Gentempo has set up, and he will explain more about that in just a few minutes. And then below that big orange button, you'll see the chat roll. And I will be monitoring the chat roll, so any comments, questions that you'd like to ask, please put them in there. I will make sure that Dr. Zaino and Dr. Gentempo get them. And with the announcements over, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Dr. Zaino. Take it away.
All right, thanks, Tabor. And everybody pray for Tabor. He's been working his butt off. He's just got his spinal hygiene. His shipment came in. You excited about that, bud?
Oh, yeah, dude, so excited. But yeah, it's been late nights at the office for sure.
I know. Hey, but your dream is, I mean, I'm sure you would rather have this than no, your dream became a tangible product.
Absolutely. It's awesome.
All right, so let me introduce Dr. Gentempo tonight. So I always start with my story. And Cairo Thought Leaders, my core value is always congruency, right? So there's nothing I talk about or anybody I support unless it's something that I actually have an experience with in my life. So I met Dr. Gentempo probably 5 years ago. And I mean, of course, I knew about him from going to Parker and Parker seminars and just CLA, all the great things that happened. But I knew of him, but you didn't know like the mind of him. And so Garrett Gunderson had introduced me to Dr. Patrick, and then we would start having phone calls here and there. Then I went into the UAC, which we'll talk about today. And you were just amazed on like the wisdom that happened. That's when I was really exposed to a mastermind and what that was. It wasn't, I think about it, it wasn't that long ago, but I feel that I've come so far in just those little years because I was introduced to relationship capital. I didn't understand what that concept was, or masterminds. And just to show you the way it personally worked for me, being around a lot of other amazing thought leaders. And Dr. Gentempo, I'm stealing this from him, and he told me that when you're in the bottle, you can't see the label. You know what I mean? So this is where when you're in mastermind, people can see things that you can't see, and they all rise you above a level of thinking you didn't think before. And it was just an amazing thing. And just what I'm so grateful for is a lot of you have loved the hero stuff we've been doing, the We Are Heroes shows. But you got to understand, there was a good solid full day and a half, plenty of phone calls. And Dr. Gentempo, he really got I masterminded with him. We really got the premise down. See, it all has to start with a premise. And I went through his Mountaintop Mastermind, which is an additional thing you could do with UAC if you choose. And we really got the spearhead down. I had the concepts, but it was floaty. But I really needed someone, because I'm the type where I get near the image, but right before the image or the purpose gets clear, my secret identity or my inner person, my inner self, sometimes it distracts me because part of me is afraid of what the clarity looks like and what it could mean, how big and amazing it could be. So it's that part of you that doesn't want to get clear, and he was there to just push me into it. And we developed the premise and the values of the We Are Hero concept. And so when you saw the We Are Hero talk and you saw the things that we're doing, it's all based off the premises and concepts that were actually conceived and put together in his home where he's at right now. And so when you see those things, understand that, these are the people behind it. Like when you see me speak, and when you see those things, you're not seeing me. You're seeing the accumulation of the thought leaders and the mentors and the wisdom of Tabor and Dr. Jen, all the people in my life, that I am now the conduit of amazing minds that come together and really allow me to become the best version of me. So I always say I could speak for days on it, but my family, I mean, he's part of the reason why I have a house in Park City, Utah. I just want to be close to him. Like his mountain is across from my mountain. So without further ado, I want to introduce Dr. Patrick Gentempo.
Thanks so much. Great to be with you all, and I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. I think the Cairo Thought Leader culture is self-evident by its label, what it's about. And I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt, I might screw this up. She said, "Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. And so this is all about discussing ideas and the importance of ideas. And literally, one idea that you come across could change your entire future, change your relationship with your spouse, change the way you're going to be a parent, change your financial standing. It changes everything. So I'm somebody who's a big fan of getting together and with people and discussing ideas and seeing where that can lead and what kind of impact it can have on lives and on the world.
I mean, that's amazing. So let's talk about the Ultimate Achievers Club. You started about 10 years ago, correct? Has it been 10 years?
I think it's 10 years this year, yeah.
So tell me about, like, why, because I mean, and that's one girl, you always got something going on. And they're big. Like, there's one thing, you know, when like you dabble in little things, but you got like big things, like multiple big things, you know? So like, so what, out of all this stuff, because I know when you make a decision, and you talked about that at another thing you used to do, you know, Chiro Finishing School, that you say no more times than you said yes. So out of all the amazing things, and CLA was still going on then too, right? 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all that
10 years ago, with CLA, we probably had about 50 or 55 employees. You know, we were a fairly sizable company with, I think maybe at that point we had about 6,000 clients, you know, on 6 continents. We're running, doing programs, etc. And what was interesting is a group of my clients came to me because we'd run a lot of live events. I spoke at a lot of live events, and they came to me and said, hey, you know, listen, you've started a couple of multi-million-dollar companies. You have all these really cool contacts out there we'd like access to. Even though we enjoy your programs, they're necessarily calibrated to, you know, the average chiropractor. You know, we're way past that now. So we're trying to go to another level of the game. Can you do something for us? And I realized that I'd been a part of and even spoken at many masterminds, almost all of outside of chiropractic, because it didn't really exist in chiropractic. I mean, if you think about it, YPO, Young Presidents Organization, which, you know, is a big international group of company presidents who are 45 years or younger, and they get together to commune. They form forums together, and their local chapters, and they mastermind, they share ideas, they have challenges, they troubleshoot each other's challenges, they have new things that are working, they share that. Entrepreneur organization, Vestige is a huge international. So there's tons of masterminds. And for me as a business entrepreneur, as well as a chiropractor, I went out to these masterminds and I got a ton out of them every time I went. It was stimulating. It keeps you kind of on fire. And I think I probably first witnessed the concept of the mastermind in when I was reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I might not be 100% historically accurate on this, but I believe it is Napoleon Hill who coined the phrase mastermind. And where it came from, if you read Think and Grow Rich, there's a quote out of it where he talks about whenever 2 people get together who are intent on success, intent on achievement, and they get together to discuss ideas to advance their achievement, what emerges is a third mind in the room with them. Something that wouldn't be there if the synergy wasn't happening. Independently, that third mind's not there, but when people get together, there's sort of this magic that emerges energetically that he called the mastermind. And that's where the concept of mastermind came from. So you can have 2 people, you can have 10 people, have 100 people, but if they have something in common and they have common values and common desires to advance and to grow and to be a part of a group that does that, then there's an X factor that emerges that cannot be accessed any other way. I've met a lot of wealthy people, successful people, big people you would know. I went to John Mackey, had the CEO and founder of Whole Foods, $13 billion company. I got to spend some good time with him because I joined his mastermind, which was the Conscious Capitalism Alliance. And we would go places like to Patagonia and Life is Good. We'd go to different companies. The CEOs would host us. The group of us would get together, and there was a criteria. You had to have a company of a certain scale to be able to even apply to become a member of the mastermind, which I qualified, and I applied, and I was happy to be a member. And we'd have these amazing discussions, but I'd always leave there stimulated with a better vision for what I can do in my own business, especially when you get tired, when things are kind of oppressing you. That's especially the time when you want to really, have that outside stimulation, because we're fighting battles. There's the old adage, when you're up to your ass in alligators, it's hard to remember your mission is to drain the swamp. So I had that background and that experience and with masterminds. So what I did is when my own clients approached me and said, can we do something that's more on that scale? We are not against programs for people who are still struggling at 50 visits a week or what have you. It's great that you want to help them and great that you're helping to lift them out of that. But we're people that are seeing a much larger volume. We're intent on moving bigger. We want to find out what other people are doing who have also successful practices. And I said, I'm really shocked I never thought of this before. Let's put an experiment together. And there were 15 people who raised their hand and said, yeah, I'd like to be in. And that was the formation of the Ultimate Achievers Club. And really the first meeting was a complete experiment. I said, I don't know if we're gonna have a second meeting. Let's get together for the first meeting. And I'm gonna bring in some outside speakers, the people I know on marketing and entrepreneurs and that you'd never see in chiropractic. They weren't in the chiropractic circle. I put together some of my own stuff that I wanted to do. And then I had a whole section of it where the people in the group each shared what we refer to as a best practice, meaning, hey, I happen to be really good at direct marketing. Here's how I'm doing it. This is how I get the list. And this is the flyers that I've created and the postcards. And this is what I've tested. And this is what's working best. And here's all my materials. If you guys want to do, replicate what I'm doing. Somebody else come in and say, God, I've got a killer referral program. Here's how I've been doing that. And here's some little nuances and tweaks. And it tripled our referrals when we started doing it that way. And they shared that. And next thing you know, there was this magic happening in the room where people had no scarcity whatsoever, abundant mentality, where people not only went to learn something, but wanted to give something. And it was an amazing experience, an electrifying experience, really. So from there, we said, okay, we got something special, let's go. And we never, this has been like an off the radar group for all these years. There's not like common mass market advertising for it, et cetera. The group probably is about 75 members right now, and they're mostly across North America, and we have a base also in Australia. And we've had people come over from Europe, et cetera. It is an invitation vetting type of a process, so you have to have a practice on a certain level or minimum level. We may discuss that in a little bit in order to be able to join. And I've had people who they're not quite there yet, but I talk to them and I say, listen, just get yourself up to this level and come back and talk to me, and we'll extend an invitation. Because what's important to me is not just can you put up numbers, but it's also the attitude. I literally curate every person that's in that room. So the idea is to make sure that's the right culture of people that come together on a rhythmic basis to make great things happen. So that's how it got born. I'm still a big fan of masterminds. I'm actually speaking at Joe Polish. Joe Polish runs probably the most famous mastermind in the entrepreneurial world. He's got two levels of it. What he calls 25K, which is it's Genius Network. It's called, but they internally call it 25K, which is a $25,000 a year mastermind. And just in case anybody's interested in UAC, we only charge $5,500, so it's very cheap compared to what's out in the marketplace. And then he has a $100,000 mastermind, which I have at least 3 or 4 of my really good friends pay $100,000 a year to be in a mastermind. And I'll say that what we deliver and what we do for chiropractic is a comparable thing to what people are paying 20 times for. So I think that mastermind's important. I think that whether you're doing it locally and you find a group of people, or whether you're doing it with us or in some other way that you can make it happen, it's a very important thing to do. We build in accountability groups. There's all kinds of things that we do relative to it to try to enhance the experience. But trying to, on your own accord, in your own world, between your own 4 walls, function every day for years without that kind of ideation and creativity and stimulation, I think you have to just start dying on the vine. So that's why I'm a big fan of masterminds.
I love it. And just to kind of, go from an outside perspective, what I've seen with you over the last 10 years, when you look at like what you achieved and everything like that, it's a direct result of meeting up with these other minds. I mean, like that's where you would have the idea, and it would the two, like 1 + 1 = 100. You know, it just created then the connection. So the mastermind created relationship capital. That's what you're talking about. You have that, and then Patrick, what you developed is because you do give so much value, and I'll get into how I know that's true. What I found out, and I'll tell you how I found out. But you give so much value. When you give so much value to someone, it creates what I call I call it favor capital. Now, favor capital is you give so much that, in the future, someone wants to give you that favor. And, you give without expectation, but you create the favor. So perfect example where Joe Polish is like, hey, Patrick, I want you to speak over here. Or I'm going to go, because they genuinely realize, like, when you give so much value, you give so much value to a point where someone, you hit the capacity where someone goes, oh, there's no way I could pay him back. Like, so whatever you ask of me will still not be as much as the value you gave to me. So it creates this favor value of such abundance. And you hit it on the head, and I took it for granted, because what I love is in chiropractic, and we love it, but a lot of times when it comes to marketing or we go to different coaching things, you hear another chiropractor who's good at Facebook and another chiropractor who's good at speaking. So we're getting taught about marketing and business from chiropractors who did it great, but what happens is it's contained. What I loved about UNC, you bring in a top, like, known in the world marketer. So we're not talking like, I'm getting excited over here. Like, you bring Roberto Monaco in, you bring Garrett Gunderson in, you had Gio. And it's funny, like Gio was at UAC, I didn't put it together. I spoke to him the other day and I joined his mastermind as well. And I'm like, I go, holy shit. I go, Gio's like all UAC. This guy, he runs one of the largest, Archangel events, which is sick. This guy's got a huge vision. It's like, holy cow, we have access to this guy. Like I was amazing. Then you realize, well, wait a second. As a chiro, I take it for granted because I'm in the chiro world, not knowing we have like Paul Zane Pilzer walking in. How about that day? And he spoke for an hour. It's like, that's a billionaire I'm looking at, and I'm blinking my eyes going, and you hear his story and going to China. And it's like you have people from the outside, but as a chiropractor, I was used to business advice from a chiropractor who was good at it. And yes, it was good. It got me to a level, but when you bring in the world leaders in that area, it makes you a little uncomfortable, but you get to see the potential and the capacity you could hit. So it's like I'm being connected to someone where, I'll tell you, Gio's mastermind was 15,000. All right. And I get to, okay, so it's just like that's what it is to meet in San Diego and go. So it's like, but I'm in a room with a lot of people. I'm not in a room that's very intimate like UAC, where I could actually have FaceTime with these people. And it was just so your favor capital that you developed over 10 years from those masterminds to bring these people in, Alex Mendoza. Just like, that's the thing, like you might not recognize the names, but you want to do some research, you're like, holy cow, they're all big hitters. And that's what's coming in. So when you said the 5,500 compared to 15,000, compared to 25, 100,000. I know Garrett Gunderson, he wouldn't mind me saying this. He joined a mastermind. It's $1,800 a month. He can't even go to all of it, but he's like, I still pay the $1,800, so I have access. So he just wants the access, and he's willing to pay $1,800 a month EFT. So this is something that it's such an opportunity that I would hate you or anybody to take for granted because you're just not aware of how good it is. It's almost like having a beautiful bottle of wine, but you never really drink wine much, so like it tastes good, but you don't realize like the gift it really is. And you would get that wine analogy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, especially because 2 weeks ago we were in Napa Valley with the UAC.
And then you have those trips. Tell me you do that one trip, right? You have the different trips out there. So it's great. I just had some of the guys, Dr. Stephen Franson and Alan Miner, amazing. Tim Young is amazing. Pampa. There's just so many. Mike Viscarelli. I'm sorry if I'm leaving that person out, but you just got so many like loving, abundant hitters, and it just becomes a family. Because let me tell you, as a chiropractor, I don't know about anybody watching this, but I don't have many friends where I live, and I'll tell you why. Because when you live this principle, it's very tough. Because there's not many like-minded people. So it's tough to have this principle that we live and we die by, and we live, it's a philosophy we live by. And it's tough to mesh with people that aren't in that philosophy. We could be friends, but we don't have this like we don't charge each other's batteries. Sometimes when I meet with people, it drains me. This call, I'm already sweating because we're charging each other's batteries. And that's a really good environment to be in, because the energy I'm feeling is this universal energy. We're coming together. It's that mastermind, but it's at such a big level, and just good things happen from that atmosphere. So you could say, that's why I replied, it's great. I mean, Rochester, I mean, there's just so many good, amazing people, and they're my family. And that's why I love Park City, because when I go to Park City, I go out to eat more. I have more friends in Park City than I do in my home. And so that's why we invested to go out there, because we realized, we're moving out to, it's so important, the relationship capital. And like when I go out to eat with you or have dinner with you, it's like we could talk forever, but I always leave with an amazing idea that shifts an entire course of where I'm going. So, and that's what the UIC does. Anything you want to add on it? So let me ask you some questions. Is that cool?
Yeah, let me just, if I can just comment on what you're saying for a moment. And I think that you're making a very strong point about the habit of being around people like that, and the influence and the outcome that it creates. In Park City, for example, one of the main reasons I moved here 2 years ago is because it's a melting pot of entrepreneurs. I'm surrounded by people who've done amazing things, who have, are in careers, who are very creative, and there's a wide range of them. And it's exactly what you said. We get together, we have a dinner, we go out on a mountain bike ride and talk it down, and it's like, yes, it's beautiful here, the lifestyle is great, etc. And that's in and of itself good enough. But who you're surrounded with is hyper critical. And I think that if you don't have that, the old adage is you are like the people you hang out with most. And if you're like you said, you might be kind of in an area where you're the immediate area that you live in or practice in doesn't have that stimulation. So you have to have a strategy for getting to that stimulation. And there's a lot of very high profile people in the UAC that people would recognize, but there's also a lot of quiet people. Like I think of a Brian Joseph, like I don't know how many people know Brian, but a $2.3 million practice, all cash, based on direct marketing techniques that he's mastered, and he's very unassuming, him and his wife, and as well as several others that are in there. So culturally, it's about the practice, of course. It's about, and you cited something that's important to me. The vast majority of people who come speak, you'd never see in a chiropractic program. They're contacts I have of people that I want you to have a different look at things. Richard Rossi, for example, is going to be at he's one of the presenters at the August event out here in Park City. And Richard, he built the company from 0 to 135 million a year in revenue, sold that company, is now, now launched his new one after a 1 year non-compete, generating millions and millions of dollars. The guy is a rock star. He understands business, he understands entrepreneurism, marketing. And I got to tell you, the stuff that he shares is just, I'm riveted in the room as I'm watching. So selfishly, I bring in the people I want to hear too. But I know Richard very well. Through the years we were in an accountability group together. So I try to give looks at different things. I had a guy, a Harvard MBA. This was probably a year and a half ago. CEO. He was in private equity for a while. Then he decided to start his own company, raise some money. 3 years later, the company's doing 40 million a year. But he got up and he walked in, and his whole presentation was, what are the 6 things I think about every morning when I wake up? So it's CEO training. If you're a business owner and you're responsible for the business, we didn't go to Harvard Business School. We didn't have the experience of investing in lots of companies, so you had to analyze them. And then we don't have the experience maybe of building a $30 or $40 million company from scratch, and also had some failures and shared some of that stuff too. But the idea is like, geez, yeah, I'm curious what are the 6 things that a successful CEO that went to Harvard Business School thinks about. So that's the kind of stuff, there is a business slant to it. I usually bring a lot of philosophy in the chiropractic stuff to make sure it's always there. And every member of the group is a chiropractor, so it's not a general mastermind, it's focused in chiropractic. So anyway, I just want to echo a few of those sentiments, but here, let's jump into questions.
Well, that's what I like about it. Real quick, Tabor, I love that you're combining two skills. We have so you have things that you would, and speakers that, entrepreneurs and CEOs pay the world for, but it actually becomes, you marry it with chiropractic, and it becomes it's the new opportunity. It's the unique opportunity that's not anywhere else. And I just appreciate it with Tabor. All right, Tabor.
I just wanted to reiterate that the button is below the video to apply or even to find out more information. They'll be sent to a page where they can click on a button to apply, and maybe encourage Dr. Gentempo to speak about that application for a second before or during the question, maybe.
Sure.
So.
Hey, at that link, if you go from that link, you'll go to our UAC Cairo site if this is of interest to you. There's more information there, gives you kind of an overview, gives you, the programs, where they're scheduled, blah, blah, blah. But also, if you're interested, there's a button there to fill out an application. Doesn't take very long. And, our process is we go through the application. I get on the phone with you one-on-one, look at what you're doing. And if you're not a good fit, in my opinion, I'm going to let you know that so that, we're not wasting anybody's time or money. And if you are a good fit, we're going to extend to you an invitation. And it's not like judgment. I just know the culture of this group, and for the right people, it's like an unbridled hell yes. But for other people, just based on kind of where their head's at or what they're after, I can get a pretty good sense if I say, I think this is not probably the right thing for you, and then maybe I can make recommendations for something else. But that's basically our process. So going to get more information and filling out an application is what that link will lead you to.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right, so I got a question right here. Going to this, it says, right here, Patrick, it says, well, you went over roughly the production they need to do, but someone says, do I need multiple practices? Is this for chiros who just want to have more locations and scale out to become a CEO? Or is it for that person who just wants to stay in their one solo practice?
There's no preconditions on that. Obviously, Chris, your practice, I don't think you have an ambition to open multiple practices, but you have one focused, extraordinarily successful chiropractic practice. There are people in the group that have multiple practices. There are people in the group who have the ambition to evolve into multiple practices. One guy's got a franchise of 35 practices. Another guy's got, I think, 6 or 8. Several people have, 2, 3, 4 practices. But I will say that the majority of the group, if we're just looking at percentages, are solo. They have one practice. They might have associates and stuff, but they have one practice, and it's a fairly successful practice. Pretty much the entry level of a UAC member, just to give you a sense if anybody's wondering, is they're seeing at least 200 visits a week with an ambition to really grow. Or they're at a minimum of say 400,000 in revenue a year with an ambition to grow. I think the average practice in there is at $1 million or more. But we do have a good chunk that are below $1 million, but they have that, they're striving to get there. And of course we have the your practice, Chris. We have the very big practices in there that are putting up really, really big numbers and everything in between. But nobody's walking around like peacocks, with the badges that have 27 ribbons underneath them. Everybody shows up, for the right reason. Sometimes they're younger chiropractors who just got out of the gates fast, are doing well, but they need and want some mentoring. So, and we have some people in there that've been at it for 30 plus years, and they just really mastered it, and they sustained success for many, many years, and they have a lot to share too. So, but the one thing everybody has in common is abundance in their mentality. Scarcity belong in that room. Nobody should walk in that room if they have a scarcity mentality. And it doesn't mean that nobody ever gets scarce. When we all face challenges, we can get scarce, but the whole purpose of the room is to change your mindset and get you back to abundance and seeing things differently and becoming solution oriented as compared to getting bogged down into your problems.
That's awesome. How about this one? It says, I belong to another coaching company in the coaching system. Is this something I could still go to even though I'm getting coached by another company? So it's not a coaching system.
First of all, that's a great question.
Yeah.
The first thing to know is this is not coaching. This is a mastermind. You're around peers to mastermind. You know, if you're looking for, you know, a curriculum that teaches day 1, day 2, blah, 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 that's not, we don't do that. Now, will people share best practices around that? Sure, that might happen. But what's interesting is many coaches are members of the group. You've got Fred DiDomenico's a member. You've got Stephen Franson, Remarkable Practice is a member. You got Michael Buffington and Tim Young, who have their coaching service. So many people who are coaches are a part of our UAC group, but it is not a coaching thing. I'm going to say a large chunk of the people in the group are being coached. As a matter of fact, I will tell you that Franson, DiDomenico, Tim Young, all of them who have clients in their coaching program that have big practices, they refer them to UAC for the mastermind experience.
100%. Awesome. Yeah, it's coaches. And remember, coaches usually have coaches, so it's great. So no, but it's a mastermind. How about this? What type of, this is good. So what type of access and personal touch can I get if I have questions or need help in an area? Support in between events. So how many events? What goes on in between? So yeah, let them know about we just had the monthly mastermind webinar that you guys just said. So so the in between, how many events? The in between the events.
Yeah. So our rhythms look like this. We have 4 what I'd call standard live events a year. And they're basically quarterly. One of them, which we just added as an additional event, is in Australia, Sydney, Australia, which is kind of the January event. Usually happens late January. Then we have an East Coast event in March, which is near New York City. We have the middle of the country, or the Mountain West, in August, which will be out here, our next event out here in August. And then we have December on the West Coast, or somewhere near the West Coast. This year it's going to be actually at my favorite hotel in the whole world, the Mandarin Oriental in Las Vegas. Unbelievable property. So I was excited to get in there. I had a very tough contract to negotiate, but I finally got it done. So those are the regular events. Basically, what happens, people come in on Friday night. Usually people informally gather in a lobby, lounge, or whatever, and get together. It's all hugs and great to see you, and people getting very excited. And everybody really, when UAC is coming, there's like a buzz in the air when we're getting together live. And then we go all day Saturday, where we have a program, and that's a series of speakers. We're introducing roundtables this August, where we'll have different roundtables as a part of the day. And then we organize a dinner for everybody on Saturday evening, or some type of an event where people get together. Then Sunday morning from 8 to 10 is our best practice share. That's no presentation time from any external speakers. It is the members of the group taking a couple hours to share what they've been doing that's working. And that's a magical thing. The average member makes about, I'm going to say, 2 events out of the 4 years. So everybody doesn't make every event. I think the average member makes about 2 of the 4, but they're all professionally videoed, so that if you can't make the event, you can still get the content at the UAC site, which is a private site with a password for all the members. And then and actually you have content going back several years, so you can actually pick up stuff that happened years ago. Really great library of some very powerful material. We also have the monthly Mastermind Hangout, which is like what we're doing right here, specifically for the group, which is the first Tuesday, I think, of every month for an hour. We also have available for UAC members, if they desire it, to be put into accountability groups. It's something I highly recommend. And to be in accountability with other members of the group who are good performers. I have seen those accountability groups now, several of them gone on for years, where they go on vacations together. That one group, that they rent a catamaran in the Caribbean, and they go on a week-long sail trip every year now. They've done it, I think, 4 years in a row. So some amazing relationships and bonds, but the accountability, that weekly rhythm of being with other successful chiropractors who have the energy that you have, that's a powerful asset. And then we have our private Facebook page. People are posting there all the time. So that's the basic stuff we do. And then we'll also call audibles and do some what we call extracurricular activities. Like when we went to Napa, we rent private coaches, no classroom time. It's just us getting together to just chill and talk and decompress. and just basically reflect upon life and bond. We went to Bali, Indonesia a while ago, and again, not everybody goes. It was probably 16 members went on that trip. So they, most of the members look at my wife Lori and I our venture travel. They want to get in on some of that action, so we'll schedule trips and take them, when it seems like the demand is there.
I mean, that's awesome. So I just want to see everybody get the value together. So you see that button below, it says yes, hit that button and apply. And also, if anybody, does apply tonight or from our group, what I do is the events that I am at, I always do outside the event hours. So it might be a first thing Saturday morning or before Sunday morning. I'm offering as value to you a 1 hour, like a fireside chat where we just kind of hash it out, Q&A, and that's really became my best time, because my advice to you is always stuff that I get my best material from, so we could just really get some good transformation. So anybody who gets that link, that's my added value to you to be able to do that. So and I guarantee it. And I always say, if just that time with me alone will be absolutely worth everything you invest. Here's another one. It says, is this for the doc only? Or can I bring team members and/or my spouse?
So the way it works is that included in the membership is for the live events, you can bring your spouse and one team member, what we call a key staff member. And that's all included. There's no extra charge. If you happen, some guys have multiple practices, they want to bring an extra associate. For the live event, they just pay an extra $500 per person that they want to bring. So one thing I'll say culturally is we believe in, if you have a spouse, a significant other, really important for them to join you if they can. And if you have the type of relationship that warrants that. We have a lot of husband-wife teams who are chiropractors, which is really interesting, really high-powered teams. But for the most part, I think it's really critical to bring the spouse. Not mandatory, but I think it's an opportunity for you, and it kind of creates a bond. What I know for sure in my own life and in other people's lives is that when you and your spouse are separated in your activities, and let's say you come to a UAC event and you come home on fire with a bunch of ideas, and your spouse just got done changing shitty diapers and cleaning up the puke from the dog, it's kind of like, yeah, and there's a letdown. So if you're all together, at least at some of the events, and there's a feel for the excitement that it breeds, then you're going to have alignment and congruency in the marriage that's going to allow, I think, the impact to be much, much greater. So we encourage spouses to come.
That's great. So once again, guys, just to apply, hit that yes below, because that was another question. I just got texted in, like, how do I apply for it? So if you want to apply, you go down before, and like Dr. Gentempo said, it's not a judgment thing. You apply. It's a great experience. You apply. You get to talk on the phone to see what's going on, and you get to see if it's a fit, what's best for you and for your future. And I totally understand that application process. I've also do with the Zaino experience, and it really is what's best for you. And as you can see, you're only going to get value because Dr. Gentempo does that. He builds favor capital with people. You just want to, you just want to be able to help, and because of the value that he brings. So just click that button below. And Krista will get in contact with them, or is it a scheduler?
Yeah, it's Krista. Krista, who's our executive director for UAC, will reach out and offer some times and put together a schedule so we can get on a call or a Skype together.
And she's great. You'll really enjoy Krista. That's one thing. You have like just the idea of a virtual assistant is just like that. And I learned how to hire one like that. So I just appreciate that for me. See, this is the stuff you get where it's like, wow, I'd love to have someone like that on my team, but you can. You just need the minds to come together to show you how to do it. And so just stuff like that. So please just click that button below, apply. Any closing thoughts, Dr. Gentempo?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing I'll appeal to you is take a look in the mirror and just decide who you are. I mean, are you a player? Are you in the game? Are you somebody who's got ambition? Somebody who sees that the world needs what you've got, and that you've got a purpose, to bring it to the world, whatever form that might be. In UAC, we have everything from spinal correction only practices to full lifestyle practices and everything in between. So the actual details of the practice vary, although all the chiropractors in there I would say are, for lack of a better term, principle-based chiropractors. They're motivated by doing something in the world or in their communities that really matter. And for me, I mean, I got to tell you, I'm in chiropractic now for over 30 years. And my feeling is, it's almost hard for me to say it because my feeling is I'm just getting started. I feel more energized, I think, than I ever have. The UAC has been a gift. It's been a real blessing for me because I spent a lot of my time working with struggling chiropractors and trying to get them to see a better version of themselves and a better future for themselves, which is a very difficult thing to do sometimes. And I think Dr. Zaino can relate. But I'll tell you, it is like an oasis when chiropractors are getting together. It's not like they have to wonder, can I afford the plane ticket? Can I afford the hotel room? They are already abundant. They are successful. The only question is, how can I help contribute to other people's success, and what can I learn to get to the next level? And how can I more, energetically engage in this success so that I can live a better life? And that's what UAC is all about. And I know that there's probably just a minority of people that probably are the right fit for UAC or have the practice, a fairly successful practice, and that several of you are striving for that. And again, I wouldn't mind talking to any of you. I'd love to. But ultimately, what I'm hoping is that you'll know that there's inspiration out there, that you'll know that practice and success is not good luck and bad luck. And what I love with Dr. Zaino's work, and what I loved about the brand that he built, and the message that goes with it, is the idea of the hero, that resides with all of you, and having permission to feel proud, permission to excel, permission to stand up and stand out. And by having adopting those particular values, as compared to being scared to express yourself because of what other people might think. That's what UAC is all about. It's about coming out and playing big and squeezing every ounce of juice out of the lemon, out of the orange, out of whatever the fruit is that you want to, that you want to use for a metaphor. And then, and then leaving it on the field, and saying, well, what? I go out there every single day. I plan on doing, having very strong longevity in my career. I plan on being a mentor to people who are looking to strive below me, and I seek to be mentored by the people who are ahead of me. That's what this is all about. So if that's calling you, then you need to get on the phone with me.
Awesome. All right, Tabor, close it out, buddy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Gentempo, for your time tonight. It is always a pleasure. And let me just say that everything that you are associated with and everything you put out is always worth the investment hundredfold. So thanks for being with us. Everybody who's still on listening live, thank you for your time tonight. And everybody who watches the replay, thank you. We will see you on the next one.